These are the men and women who help teach the faith and spread the light of God in this world. This is Pastor Stories. This time on Pastor Stories, we have Pastor William D. Daniel of the Timpson First Baptist Church. We'll be discussing his church and also how he got into the ministry. Now, firstly, let's discuss the founding of your church. When was it founded, and who founded it?
Well, it was founded originally in 1885 out at the Buena Vista community, and then moved into the Timpson city itself in 1885. So it's got a long history, 30 years old, and so it's great to. It's well established. We have a lot of people that have grown up in the church, but also a lot of our people come from outside the community as well. And so it's a great a blending of home folks, but also those that aren't from Timpson that come in. And so it's just been a blending of the people around the community.
And what got you involved in ministry?
Well, I kind of grew up not going to church real regular. We'd go here and we'd go there. We'd hit and miss kind of thing. And at 15, got involved in a youth group up in Gladewater, Texas, at Calvary Baptist Church, and accepted the Lord at 15. I'd like to say that, I started serving the Lord from there, but kind of got away from the Lord and serving the Lord in my high school years, and at about 22 years of age, had a daughter. My wife was going to church, had a young baby, and Lord just impressed upon me that that's where I needed to be, what I need to be doing, and recommitted my life to Christ, come back into the church, and started just serving in the church, not in a leadership capacity. And God, through that, led me into teaching a Sunday school class, working with youth group, and really felt at 24 that God was calling me into the ministry. And talked to my pastor about it, and he said, I'll tell you, this is a statement he said to me, and it's rung true, and it's impressed me through my life, and that is, son, if you can do anything else and be happy, do it. And if not, you've been called. And so I tried it. I tried to do everything else and couldn't do it and be happy, because God was calling me to pastor. And I think there's a difference in a pastor and a preacher. Pastors get to preach, but they get to pastor the flock. They get to shepherd the flock that God has led them to. And I get to pastor. It's a privilege. It's an honor to be a pastor. And then I get to preach as well, but I get to pastor my people, get to know them. I think a pastor knows his people. He's involved in their lives. He gets to come alongside them and just disciple them and be a part of their lives so that they can grow in their faith with the Lord as well. And so I get to be a pastor and preacher at First Baptist Church.
And do you have any family that's also involved in ministry? I
have one cousin that's in ministry as well, but nothing before us. Nobody before us has ever been in ministry that I know of. It's just something that God called me from being in church and putting this calling upon my life.
And lastly, well, I guess you kind of touched on that a little bit in the previous question, but what would you have to say to anybody that wants to be involved in the ministry?
Well, first of all, I think you need to really pray about it. If God's calling you in the ministry, then He's not going to let you alone about it. It's going to be something that's going to be so heavy on your heart that you need to surrender to it. And I think what we also need to understand, though, is that God calls all of us into ministry. Everybody that is a believer of His is called into ministry. Some of us are called vocationally into ministry, into full-time ministry and bivocational ministry, but all of us are called to minister to those around us. Everybody around us needs to hear the gospel message, and all of us are called to do that. We're called to be His witnesses wherever we go and whatever we do. And that's one of the great things about First Baptist Church and the opportunity to pastor there is our motto is love God, love people. And that's what we want to do. First of all, the disciples they were asked, which is the greatest of the commandments? And He said they can be summed up in two statements. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, and spirit, and love your neighbor as yourself. And that's what we strive to do at First Baptist Church is we want to love God first. And when we love God first, then we're able to love the community. And look, we do that in multiple ways. Our goal is not to just be focused inside the church and those in the church, but we have many community outreach projects throughout the year and different things of helping our community. And that's what God's called us to do, not only to worship together as a church, but then take the church outside the walls, if you will. That we have a church in the church building, but we also are to be the church out in the streets. And that's our goal at First Baptist Church. And so we're excited about what God's doing, and hope that if there's anybody around Timpson that's looking for a church home and wants to experience the love of God and the love of other Christians, come and be a part of it with us.
Thank you for meeting with us.
Yes.